What is up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's XCN time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all things XCN. Of course, we're going to be discussing that AMA that occurred yesterday. We're going to be giving you a summary of what was announced. Of course, we'll also be talking about the price here, and I'll be giving you a price prediction over the next few days, so be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. Great to see you all here. So we're going to dive straight into this video, and we're going to go straight into the AMA results. Of course, I have everything summarized here on this Google Docs. We're just going to talk about some of the highlights that we saw in that AMA, some things to look forward to if you are a holder here on XCN. Of course, just a brief outline as well. If you don't know what an AMA is, it's basically like a question and answer, and basically anyone could ask questions to the Onyx DAO here, and from all the pool of questions, the Onyx DAO selected 20 that they would go and answer. And of course, on their Telegram, they answered those 20 questions, and they answered a few more at the end as well. Of course, a lot of what was talked about in this AMA was quite in-depth stuff about the project itself. For example, this answer here, as you can see, is pretty technical stuff here. If you are just a holder that's concerned with the price going up, then a lot of this AMA was probably a bit too in-depth. There was a few nuggets in there as well that probably clarified a few things. I will go over some of the things that I thought were most interesting right now. Of course, the liquid staking was something that they emphasized quite a lot in their AMA. Basically, liquid staking is a way for you to stake your XCN and get these XCN tokens, which gives you more flexibility to do other things within the Onyx DAO system. For example, with this liquid staking, if you are staking your XCN, you're still able to partake in decentralized finance. So you can swap your SCN tokens for other tokens out there. So that's just one way that liquid staking can benefit stakers in XCN, of course. And of course, the next one down here is token burns. So token burns, of course, maybe some of you knew this, but maybe some of you don't. Basically, the Onyx team are currently burning tokens with every single transaction that occurs in Onyxcoin. Of course, you can go on the Explorer here on Onyxcoin, and since they launched their layer 3, they have completed 106 million transactions. Now, the gas fees for XCN, being a layer 3, are very, very low. So it's only a fraction of a cent in terms of XCN that they earn with every transaction, but nonetheless, they burn a portion of that. And of course, as you can see by the transactions, let's just scroll down here. You can see the number of transactions is constantly increasing over time. Of course, it's hit a little bit of a slump now with the fact that the price and the interest in XCN is down a bit. But when we start to see prices rise, we can expect to see the number of transactions start exponentially growing once again. And of course, that's going to be bullish because that means more XCN is burnt, and therefore it reduces the supply. And in the longer term, that should increase the value of XCN. On top of that as well, there's a Binance listing. It's the Binance Futures listing. You can go ahead and vote for Binance to list us on futures if you fancy. The link for that is on the Onyx DAO Twitter. Of course, in the AMA, there was emphasis as well on the fact that XCN is cross-chain. Not only does it work on Ethereum, but it also works on the Binance Smart Chain. Governance in DAO I thought was particularly interesting as well. I didn't know this until now, but the hierarchy of how things work is basically if the community has any questions whatsoever, the first point of contact is the ambassadors. The ambassadors clarify with the moderators the information that they want to give back to the community if they're answering any questions. And of course, the moderators are working with the DAO to ensure that everything runs smoothly with that respect. So this is the hierarchy. Of course, there has been no face reveals. There's been no one mentioned behind this project here at Onyx DAO. It's a completely decentralized group with no doxing occurred thus far. Of course, some of you in the MA yesterday wanted to see who was behind the project, but at the end of the day, we didn't get answers to that. But this is the hierarchy, how things work. Of course, developer actions only get approved by the DAO, and once it's approved, then it gets contributed straight into Onyx. So that's how the developers are working on Onyxcoin. Of course, an interesting one as well is this bottom one here. Basically, there was a question about whether a bunch of smaller XCN stakers could create a proposal. Of course, at the moment, you need a lot of XCN if you want to create a proposal for governance. So for example, if you fancied burning half of the Onyxcoin supply, you need like 300 million Onyxcoin staked just to put that proposal across. But apparently in that AMA, it's maybe possible in the future that voting pools can happen to create proposals. That means a bunch of small stakers in XCN could all pull their staked XCN together to get up to that 300 million threshold. and then collectively create a proposal. So that could be very interesting, particularly if the community want to take over something here at Onyxcoin. Of course, also, if you're looking for a way to get involved at XCN, if you're holding your XCN, but you're a little bit bored and you want to do something a little bit more to kind of actively be part of the community, the Onyx team have a reward system on this Zeely site here. So basically, if you connect to Zeely, you have to sign in via your email address. You can go on here, and on the very left, you've got this quests tab. And once you log in to this Onyx style system, you can see a bunch of quests that you can do to earn rewards for basically being a community member. So this is another way to get involved if you are looking on doing so. And of course, most of you probably already know this, but maybe you didn't as well. Of course, just a few weeks ago, we saw the announcement of the Layer 1 Goliath release. So this is kind of the long-term plan here for XCN. Basically, in 2026, they hope to have this Layer 1 active that's going to be very fine-tuned for the target market of Onyx. And basically the target market are going to be financial institutions that need blockchain solutions for payment sending. And basically Onyxcoin is going to try and position itself as the ideal blockchain for this. Of course, it's a very ambitious goal. It could capture a huge target market if it does work out very well. But this is obviously the longer term vision. This is going to be happening by 2026. It's a longer term roadmap. Of course, there are milestones along the way as well. I will leave a link for that Goliath mainnet release news here on this Google Docs. I'll put this Google Docs in the description down below as well, so you guys can read it if you fancy. Of course, I've copied and pasted all the questions and answers here onto this Google Docs. So if you rather read the full question and answers, it's all down here on this Google Docs. Of course, that's going to be linked in the description down below if you guys want to read it. But basically, these points up here is kind of just a summary of basically everything that was mentioned from the first 20 questions. Now, obviously, there was a few things as well that they hadn't talked about, which I noticed. Of course, they didn't talk about any partnerships. We know that they had a partnership with HTX Global and Justin Sun. And of course, what we know so far is that they have been allocated a grant of a certain amount of XCN that's locked up for 2 years that we voted to approve. Of course, the trade-off is that they bring their expertise to help XCN succeed, but we don't know any more than that. So they've been called to answer that question, but nonetheless, we did not hear about that in the AMA. We also didn't hear about any other partnerships in the works. On the most part, I think they answered most of the questions here for the future of XCN, and it's looking pretty decent, of course. So of course, that was basically a short summary of the AMA. Again, this is going to be linked in the description down below if you want to read it. Now we're going to head over to the price and basically just talk about that briefly. Of course, it is Sunday, so it is a little bit quieter here in crypto in general. Of course, I hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday as well. I hope you're taking a nice relaxed day off of work. Basically, here on the charts here on Onyxcoin, we've seen this downtrend, and if you see my previous videos, yes, it will be quite similar still because we have seen a breakout to the upside from this trend line. You can see that, as you can see in the shorter term there, we've had that break just a few days ago. Of course, as you can see, not much has happened since our previous video here about this time yesterday. There's just been a lack of volatility in the markets. You can see that most of the coins that we covered are either slightly green or either slightly red. So not much movement for most of the coins that we cover. The technical situation here on Onyxcoin is still the same. However, of course, at the end of the day, we've seen a breakout past this trend line that we were watching. Of course, that happened a few days ago. We saw a clear break to the upside of this trend line. We saw the prices kind of consolidating a bit, basically like a calm before the storm. On the one-day chart as well, you guys can see that we've had a successful crossover of the MACD. We've got two clear bars now, and this MACD crossover is now locked in. Now, I personally think that this could start to move upwards tomorrow on Monday. Of course, that's when the stock market opens once again, and that normally brings volatility here into crypto as well. Of course, Sunday is generally quiet because the stock market, the traditional markets are all closed, and therefore there's just less trading activity occurring. And tomorrow we will start to see a lot of volatility and of course tomorrow we should see a lot of volatility come into the markets. The level for me that I'm watching to turn fully bullish here on Onyxcoin is still this same level at 1.46 cents. Of course, the reason for that is if we get above that level, then that will confirm a higher high for me on the shorter time frame. So if we do something like this, for example, you will see that we're making higher highs, and on the shorter term, that could indicate that we're seeing this trend reversal from bearish to bullish on the Onyxcoin chart. Of course, that also coincides with the fact that we've seen a MACD crossover, a very bullish signal, and then after we get to that 1.46 cents level, the game is on here on Onyxcoin. Of course, some of the targets that I'm looking at to the upside is 3.1 cents. That's my immediate price target if we flip this 1.46 cents level, something like this, for example. Of course, that is the result of this general falling wedge pattern that I believe we have seen. If we get past 3.1 cents, then the other price targets that I'm going to be watching for fall along these Fibonacci levels. The next price target would be the previous high there at 5 cents. If we can zoom past that, these 3 fib levels are going to be next, in my opinion. Of course, the golden fib there sits at 1.6. The golden fib there at 1.618 sits at 35 cents. That's my 2025 target here on Onyxcoin. So that's really what I'm looking at. Of course, basically at this point, just fingers crossed that things start to pick up tomorrow here on Onyxcoin. Of course, like I say, it's quiet today, so I don't expect much movement throughout the rest of Sunday. But going into Monday, I do expect there to be a lot more volatility. Prices doing something maybe a little bit like this over here as the stock markets start to wake up. Of course, next week we've also got a lot of economic data that I think you guys should watch out for. The main one that we've got is on Wednesday. Of course, that is the Fed interest rate decision. Now, the interesting thing about this is that obviously the stock market has crashed over the past few weeks. Basically, everything has crashed since mid-February. And originally, the consensus is that the interest rate was going to be kept the same because the Fed had basically said that they're in no rush to reduce the interest rates. But now things are starting to crash on the stock market. Maybe they're more forced to reduce the rates. So if everyone's expecting the interest rates to stay the same, but all of a sudden the Fed announces that they're going to be cutting the rates down to say 4.25% or even 4% on here, that is going to be a positive for the markets because no one was going to be expecting that. And of course, when that happens, we should see a very positive impact in the markets. Everything is going to be starting to go green. So if you're going to mark a date on your calendar, mark this Fed interest rate decision. For me, that's 7 p.m. I'm UTC +1. So basically, try and make that announcement if you can, because there could be a lot of volatility in the markets. If it does get cut, if the interest rates get cut, I would expect that to kickstart a new bull market here in crypto. So very, very important one, that one there. Of course, as you can see, there's quite a few other important economic pieces of data as well coming out for the rest of the week. So that should generally add some volatility into the market. So if you are trading with leverage, just be a little bit careful coming into this next week. Of course, for now, this is what I'm monitoring, this falling wedge here, the MACD crossover, and what the prices do going into Monday. And of course, the price targets I've already given you. So that was a quick Sunday update for you guys here on Onyxcoin. Of course, I've also detailed the AMA results. That's in the description down below, like I say on the Google Docs. Otherwise, that's pretty much all I have to say here. So again, enjoy your Sunday, guys. I will see you in my next video.